The big story tonight is that Ezra Chiloba, the IEBC CEO, has been sent on compulsory leave for 3 months pending investigations into some audit queries. He was also before the Public Accounts Committee not too long ago over the same. Your views on Twitter. Edwin Nyakweba says whatever is happening at the IEBC is exactly what is expected when a commission has nearly 50 billion at its disposal to spend in an electioneering process which in all fairness doesn't even meet any standard on a civilized nation on earth. 30 law firms, OMG. So there is much more of that. Please continue to do that. The hashtag is the big story. That is how I'm tracking your feedback. I'm still here with Thomas Letangule, who's a former IEBC commissioner. Thomas, before the break, you had talked about some of the very important processes or, tasks that are ahead of the IEBC at the moment that they need to focus on even as they take a look at some of these irregularities that have been reported. But when you take a look at the divisions that have, come to the fore yet again at this time, how would that hamper such a sensitive thing like, the boundaries review? This is the second one that's taking place. Of course, the other one was concluded in 2012. How important is that process? And how will the divisions within the commission affect that, if at all?
Of course, Yvonne, as I said, it's unfortunate that this commission at this particular time is having that fractured existence and infighting. Because, as you know, under the Act, under our Constitution, the IEBC mandate is to deliver certain processes for the Kenyan people. It's a full-time commission, and it's a very busy commission. Because right now, as I said, they're supposed to be doing post-election evaluation. They're supposed to map out new registration of voters. It's a continuous process. They're supposed to sit down and factor in how they're going to do the actual review of boundaries, taking into account the next census. And so they're supposed to be a very busy commission. At this particular juncture. Remember, it's a mandatory requirement under the law for them to present the post-election evaluation report to Parliament so that we know what happened and how to rectify going forward. Therefore, this infighting at this particular time doesn't abode well for such a commission. It's very unfortunate. For the 6 years that our IBC existed under Chairman Isaac Hassan, there was no single day that the commissioners sat and voted on an item. We always manage to arrive at issues by consensus. The job of the chairman, and that is where Chebukati comes in, is to build consensus among the team. His job is like building a cohesion in the team. So it's so unfortunate. It speaks a lot about the leadership crisis that we are facing in that commission, that the commission is divided, as it were. Even on this issue of Chiloba, now we hear two of them agree, another one storms out of the meeting. This is really not good for the commission. And I dare say that they are failing the test provided under Article 10 of our Constitution on integrity and leadership. As a commission, they're supposed to live within the values of Article 10 of the Constitution on integrity and leadership. And that is where they are failing. I don't want to go into the merits of why somebody should be suspended or the queries issues that is being raised. I don't want to comment on that, but I think Kenyans are being treated for a drama which should not be there.
We have seen even for the better part of last year. Ishmael Nyaribo joins me on phone now. Ishmael, I don't know if you've been able to follow the conversation we've had. Ndindi Nyoro says that perhaps there is a sense in which Ezra Chiloba might be the sacrificial lamb because he was not CEO at the time that some of these audit queries are being raised. Do you agree with that? He is the chief accounting officer of the commission anyway.
As I said, Yvonne, I don't want to go into the merits of...
Sorry, Thomas, that was for Ishmael Nyaribo, not for you. Yeah, we understand your position on this. Ishmael Nyaribo is supposed to be on phone. Can you hear me, Ishmael?
I can hear you, Yvonne. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so let's talk about, the issues that are before, the Public Accounts Committee, the audit issues. So what happens when there's issues that have been raised before Chiloba's tenure?
Okay, First and foremost, I agree with Tindi when he says that the buck finally stops with Ezra Chiloba. Sorry, the buck stops with the chairman of IEBC, Chebukati. But I don't agree when he says, neither anybody suggesting that Mr. Chebukati should not crack the whip on any of the people within the commission who are impeding his work or who are making it impossible to implement his mandate. And of course, I do not think that it's only the chairman whose mandate should be respected, but as a group, as one unit, the IEBC should agree on which is the best way to discharge their duties. And if there is a commissioner or a CEO or a staff who is not willing to toe the line so that they can implement their mandate, there is absolutely no wrong if such a person can be suspended or suggested for removal altogether. But the way divisions right now are appearing, actually, I would suggest something more drastic. This is a reason for disbandment of the IEBC.
Yeah, because I was going to...
They cannot agree for a long time, and they still continue to say the buck should stop with the chairman, they should not kick out Chiloba, they should not, there are certain chairmen, certain commissioners are saying this and that. So I think it's a suggestion for disbandment of the IEBC as a whole.
Yes,
and I
Ishmael.
think this goes deep, Yvonne, into what the president and the Raila Odinga shook hands for, that they want to rectify the wrongs which have been committed, and we can start at any point.
Yes, because I was going to ask you precisely that. Is this commission, as currently constituted, effective if even on a matter like this, there is disagreement? This is not the first time the chair and the vice chair of this commission have been at odds with each other. I mean, there's been divisions right down the middle. This is not the first time, despite various efforts to try and get some consensus and bring them together, you know, retreats in Naivasha. Not once. Do you think that as it is currently constituted, with all the divisions, that they can be an effective commission to do the work that they have to do ahead of 2022?
One, Yvonne, I believe the men and women working at the IEBC are quite professional and qualified, actually overqualified. I am very confident to say like that. However, the infighting we are talking about is actually fighting that is happening outside and transported or imported into the IEBC. I have always said on this media that there is always a third hand that he is actually involved in spinning the wrangles and the problems that we see at the IEBC. Who is this behind the Ezra Chiloba that cannot actually enable him to humble himself so that proper audit can be done? Who is this on the side of Chebukati so that when he makes a decision, the others have to oppose, and finally then there is the infighting. So there is always a third hand, and this third hand must be removed. And if it means removing Chiloba or removing Chebukati or removing the commissioners, we must have one coherent commission so that we can run the affairs of the elections in the country and boundaries and other duties of the IEBC in such a harmonious manner that the citizen feels is actually being represented properly.
I would pose the same question to you, Thomas, because you talked about the unanimity and consensus that was there when you were making decisions while you were in office. And now Ishmael is talking about a third hand possibly, you know, in this. I mean, the same thing was heard last year about the different political factions then trying to influence what happens within the commission. From your perspective, and you've sat in this commission before, do you think that they can be able to discharge their mandate with these divisions that currently beset them?
Well, as I said, Yvonne, this commission, I know that they are in a hot seat. I know that they are facing various challenges. Probably, as the last speaker just said, that could be some other external forces interfering with their work. And so the heat is really quite high. But the way to go is not to show that public display of infighting, as it were. I think that sometimes they need to retreat among themselves and talk to each other and then present a united front. That is what we did ourselves. It's not that we didn't have issues we disagreed with. We did disagree sometimes, but then we were able to hold our meetings and do the best for the commission and for the country. This is what they need to do. It's not good that the chairman is writing memos, and the same memos are being disowned by his vice chair and other commissioners. I think that's not what we want to see in the IEBC. So if they need to salvage at all their image, because at the end of the day, perceptions is more important in such a commission. So if they are looked at as a commission which is divided, which is infighting among themselves, then the wananchi will lose a lot of confidence. The stakeholders, the political party players, the other funders of this commission will, of course, lose confidence. And that will have a lot of effect on it. They will not be able to discharge their mandate because of that kind of infighting. So I think if they are to salvage their existence there, then they need to quickly come together and talk to each other.
Okay.
And that work should also be done by chairman. As I said, the chairman plays a major role.
Yeah, indeed, in terms of leadership. Ndindi Nyoro is also still on the line. Ndindi, I'd like you to respond to what Ishmael is saying, and these are allegations that we heard even last year about an outside hand, a third hand, about politics in the country making its way into the commission. I would like to give you an opportunity to respond to that.
I don't think the issue you're dealing with is a matter of infiltration from outside. It is purely a matter of leadership on the commission side, because by the time such a commission is going for a vote, it definitely means there is competition within, because consensus building in such a commission is what should be encouraged. And the issue we are dealing with is actually not corruption per se. The issue is on how the commission handled the exit or the compulsory leave of the CEO, Ezra Chiloba. But if we are to shift the discussion to the corruption side, I think then there are issues, because I went through the accounts and I went through the queries from the Auditor General. There are very real issues that should be raised, but the form at which the Commission went ahead to do the same, I think that is what is questionable.
Okay.
Because general good should override competition within a body like the IEBC commissioners. Because, Yvonne, again, these are people who are mandated to run IEBC, and they don't come there as the board members, as parastatal board members do. They are full-time, they draw salaries. And therefore, for them to shift the entire responsibility to the CEO, I don't think that was correct, and we expect better and more as the Kenyan people.
Okay. Yeah, because you're raising issues with the manner in which he's been sent home. What are your thoughts then as to, the working relationship within the commission? Say Chiloba is found not culpable in this audit that they're going to conduct over the next 3 months, and then he comes back to office. I mean, just imagine what a day in the office is like for some serious divisions between the CEO of a commission, the chair, and then between the commissioners of it. So, are you confident that then they can handle the bigger emotive issues like, review of the boundaries? What are your thoughts as to that working relationship and whether it would be effective?
Even remember, IEBC is not a supermarket where you walk in and come out with a kilogram of sugar or flour. This is an institution that is mandated to run extremely hot issues. Because when you're talking about an election, when you're talking about boundaries and such undertakings, those are very serious and emotive issues. And in such cases, perception is even much more important than reality. Now, Yvonne, if, for example, Chiloba goes back and there is competition, either by election or such, anyone would raise a question about even the credibility of the seat officer. Because this is Kenya, we are in Kenya, and we know the outcome of such processes. Even if Chiloba was to be cleared through whatever process, forensic or whichever, perception is very important.
Yeah.
And as you correctly raised, if Chiloba was to go back, we of course do not expect any good relationship with the function of the commissioners who are being led by the chairman.
Ishmael Nyaribo says we should consider disbanding this commission, considering all of these issues. What do you think about that?
I think that is the biggest problem we have as a country, because we are just even less than a year from the time we did our elections. Currently, IEBC should be very busy, because whereas we have elections after every 5 years, the process of preparing for these elections are ongoing. Remember, we have issues like voter registration, which should be not only periodical but ongoing, every year, on and on. But if we have that kind of disjointed working relationships within IEBC, I don't think the outcome will be as we expect as political players and also as the Kenyan people who pay these people hefty salaries and who facilitate IEBC to the tunes of billions. Yvonne, I think the undertaking that the IEBC should be preparing for is actually the issue of boundaries, because I believe it will actually be more emotive than the issue of elections. And for them to treat us to this kind of sideshows and to this kind of circus will only bring and erode the credibility that should be there in terms of perception, even as IEBC handles the matters that are before them.
Indeed. Thank you. Ndindi Nyoro, who's a PAC member and MP for Kiharu. My thanks as well to Thomas Letangule, who's a former IEBC commissioner, Ishmael Nyaribo, who joined us on phone as well, lawyer and analyst. Indeed, the issues of review of boundaries, quite emotive. As you've seen already, quite a bit of discussion around what should happen in Nyeri counties as well as Tharaka Nithi. You know, there's the proposals to have, you know, Tharaka Nithi be perhaps, is it Meru South, and then Meru be Meru North. Some really weighty matters ahead of the commission. We will wait to see what happens. Chiloba, meanwhile, remains on compulsory leave for the next 3 months, pending that audit into those queries that have been raised into matters of procurement, amongst others. That's the big story tonight. Thanks to my guests and thanks to you as well. Remember the conversation.